We need to paint the side of our barn because, look, the paint's peeling and someone's written all these numbers all over it. So we need to find the area of this to figure out how much paint we're going to need to repaint this. So once again, we're dealing with a figure that we don't have a formula for, but I can split this figure up into two shapes I do know how to find the areas of. One of the shapes is going to be a rectangle, so we'll find the area of that piece. The other shape is going to be a triangle. Once we find those two individual areas, we should simply be able to add them together to find the area of the entire figure. So let's start with the rectangle. The formula to find the area of a rectangle is just base times height, and I can see in my diagram that I do have a perpendicular tick mark right there. So my base is going to be 26 times my height, which is 18. The rectangular part of the barn gets me an area of 468 feet squared. The triangle is going to be a little more difficult. My formula for the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. But I'm noticing that 26 is actually not the base of the triangle. Since that's my perpendicular segment, those are the two sides that are going to be the base and the height. And neither one of them are known to us. However, I do see tick marks which tell me that both sides are the same measurement. So what I'm going to do is label both sides x. And we've not done a problem like this before, but let's take a look at how we can find that. Now, since we are dealing with a right triangle, we're going to end up using Pythagorean Theorem, but there's two things that are unknown to us, and typically we're not able to do that. But in this case, because both legs are the same thing, I will be able to actually solve this with Pythagorean Theorem. So the two legs are x and x. I know they're both the same because of the tick marks. So x squared plus x squared needs to equal 26 squared. Now the reason this problem will work, where in the past we've not been able to do it with two unknowns, is because that variable is the same thing. X squared plus x squared is 2x squared. I can combine like terms. And 26 squared is 676. And so because I have that single variable, I can solve this problem. I can find what x is equal to. So I'll need to divide both sides by 2, and that gets me x squared equal to 338. And then to finish it, I'll take the square root of both sides, and rounding to 2 decimal places, because 338 is not a perfect square, I get an x value of about 18.38. And recall that x, that was the base and height, because those are the two sides that are perpendicular to each other. 26, even though it's on the bottom of the triangle, is not the base of the triangle in this case, at least not with the numbers that I'm working with. So x is going to be the base and the height of this figure. So now with that little detour taken care of, we can actually go back and find the area. We can find the area of our triangle. So it's 1/2 times the base, which we're saying is 18.38, because we know what side is perpendicular to that, also 18.38. We're not using 26 as the base because I don't know the length of the segment perpendicular to that side. So using a calculator to multiply all that together, I get an area for the triangular part of 168.91 square feet. And then, like we said we would do at the beginning of the video, taking those two areas and adding them together should get us an area of the entire side of the barn. The triangle plus the rectangle gets me an area of about 636.91 feet squared. So that's the area, but we had one extra step. We wanted to go and do an application step. So let's take this one step further. That's the square footage we need to paint. Knowing that 1 gallon of paint covers 350 square feet, we're asked to find how many gallons of paint will we need. So let's figure out how many times 350 goes into this number by dividing. So in this case, we'll divide by 350 square feet, and that gets me about 1.8, and remember labels are important on these problems, 1.8 gallons of paint. Now it's really important to take into consideration the context of the problem. We can't go into the paint store, assuming they sell them in 1 gallon buckets, we can't go in and buy 1.8 gallons. So in this case it will be necessary to round our answer up and to say we need 2 gallons of paint. We're not able to buy a partial gallon of paint in most cases. Now be careful too. Because let's say, so that's our answer, we're done with the problem, the answer is 2 gallons. But let's say, just as a side note, we did a problem like this and we came up with an answer of 1.1 gallons of paint. Now, a lot of people may say, well, okay, well that's closer to 1 gallon, so just round down. But if you round down to 1 gallon, will you have enough paint? We needed 1.1 gallons. So in these problems, no matter what, you're always going to need to round up. So even if our answer was just 1.1 gallons, we would still need 2 gallons of paint to do that. 1 gallon would not be enough. So make sure you think about what the problem is asking for and make sure your answer is actually taking that into consideration.